When you make a request to an LLM or get a response back, that exchange is done via tokens. And tokens are the currency of LLMs. Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into those just so you understand what they are and understand why they're important, because every time you send a request in and get a response back, you are paying for that via tokens. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dan Vega, and today's going to be a little bit fun. We're going to dive in, understand a little bit about tokens, and then write an application in Java so that we can understand how to extract the token data on every single call. I've done a lot of videos lately on Spring AI and using generative AI in your Java applications, and one of the questions I've received is, how do I know how many tokens are being sent out in the prompt, how many are coming back in the response, and how many total tokens did that exchange cost me? So that's what we're going to cover today. We're also going to do something fun. We're going to log that out. We'll do it manually at first, but then we'll use something Spring is really good at, and that is AOP. And we'll use that aspect to go ahead and log anything around those methods so that we don't have to manually log this out every time. All right. I'm going to start over here, friends. This is my website. I am working on a course for Spring AI to teach you all the things you need to know about Spring AI. And if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and head over to danvega.dev, sign up for that newsletter. It is completely free, and I will let you know every week what I'm up to, but more importantly, when I have new things coming out like the Spring AI course. I want to start over here. If you've seen my video on RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, I used some of these graphics. We'll go through these again today. If you haven't and you want to kind of catch up with everything I've been doing with Spring AI, I'll leave a link to the playlist in the description below. But here we are. Tokens are the currency of LLMs, friends. And what is a token? That is really the best place to start. So there are some tokenizers out there which allow you to input some text and kind of visualize how a machine sees those characters. In this case, this is from OpenAI. You can go search for OpenAI tokenizer, and for free, just throw some text in there and see what it looks like. Here I have 439 characters. That equates to 95 tokens. So if I were to send this in the request, that would be 95 before we even get back the response. Here is a little helpful rule of thumb down here. This translates to roughly 3/4 of a word. So 100 tokens can roughly equal 75 words. So it's not a word for word token. That's important to know. So now that we know how tokens are kind of figured out, if you go over to one of the large language models, here this is OpenAI, but if you go to Claude or Gemini or any large language model, you'll see there is a pricing structure. So this pricing structure for OpenAI follow this. $2.50 for 1 million input tokens. That's the input, the request that we're sending. $10 for 1 million output tokens that's coming back. And this is why there are different models. There are pros and cons to models. Some are speed, some are pricing. If you want cheaper pricing, you can take a look at this and see which one might work better for your project. So we know what a token is now. We understand that tokens are the currency of LLMs, and this is what we're being charged for. The other part of this is that when we're sending tokens, there is a context window size. This means this is the max number of tokens that we can send. So every LLM has a max token. You can see Claude has like 200,000. Gemini 1.5 Pro has 2 million tokens. So you could send like books and books over to Gemini. But again, you're going to be paying for this. So just understanding that tokens are the way that we are paying for this, and that there is a fixed window size. So what I want to do is write a quick application using Spring AI in Java where a user can make a query. So I'm going to send off a prompt to the LLM. And what we get back is a response. But in that response, I want to know what this is going to cost me. How many prompt tokens were there? That is the request that I'm sending. How many generation tokens? That is the response that I'm getting back. And out of all of that, what are the total number of tokens? So this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be really easy to get up and running with. We're going to go to start.spring.io. We're going to create a new example. I'm going to say dev.danvega. We'll call this the T demo. Let's say token demo. And I'll go ahead and put this in a package called tokens. And I'm going to use JDK23. I'm going to pull out a couple starters here. One is the web. The other is Anthropic. So I'm going to use Anthropic Claude today. That's an LLM. You can use whatever LLM you want. The nice thing about Spring AI is that we have this portable abstraction. So the code we are writing today doesn't rely on a specific LLM. The properties that we have to change to, and there's only 2 properties I'm going to set today, but the code that we write is LLM agnostic, which is really nice. I'm going to click generate. That will download a zip, and you can open this up in any text editor or IDE. I'm going to use IntelliJ's Ultimate Edition, and with that, let's write some code, friends. All right, here I am in the application. I'm going to open up application.properties. I'm going to set a couple of properties here. Again, I'm talking to Anthropic's Claude, so I need to set my API key. I'm actually using an environment variable here on that. If you are new to Spring and want to learn a little bit more about environment variables, I just did a video on that, so I'll leave a link to that in the description below as well. Now, here we are using Claude Sonnets 3.5, like the latest version. So we are giving it the exact model that we want to use. Those are the only 2 properties we need to set. Again, if you're using something like OpenAI, there's a couple different properties you'll want to set. But once we have that, we can start talking to the LLM. Now, I'm going to get me out of the way here, and we're going to go over and create a new controller. So I'm going to say this is a token controller. This is going to be a REST controller, and we are going to have a, let's have a logger in here. And then we need an instance of the chat client. So I'm going to say chat client, chat client. We are going to get this through the builder interface. Again, if this is new to you, that's okay. You can go back and watch some older videos of mine just to kind of get caught up with Spring AI. But once we do that, we have a chat client that we can use to talk to an LLM. So I am going to make the same call about 3 different times here. So I'm actually going to copy in just a simple prompt here that I can use over and over again. So I'm going to have a get mapping for the root. We're going to do this basic call first. So we're going to say, hey, give me a string back. I'll call this token string because we're going to get a string back, and we can return the chat clients.prompt. We can pass in our prompt here, and we can say go ahead and call it and just return the string. So that is all we need to do. Yeah, I don't want to do that, right? What is it saying? Field can be converted to a local variable. Oh, yeah, that's okay. I don't want it to be that because I'm going to use it over and over again, so that's okay. So we've started our application. We need to make a call to a GET request to localhost 8080 at the root. And what should happen there is this will go out and call Anthropic Claude with our prompt. And our prompt is, tell me a fun fact about Java, and then we'll get a response. So I'm going to say I'm using an HTTP client here. Kind of like curl, but a little bit easier to read. So I'm making a GET request to localhost 8080. And what is returned is the fun fact about Java. Now, this is great. If all I wanted to do was get the response, this is working out just great. But the problem is I don't have any information about the tokens. What if I want to know how many prompt tokens was it? In this case, this. And how many generation tokens was it? This is the response. And then what is the number of total tokens that was returned? So what we can do is instead of getting a string back, we can get some more information about it. So let's say we have a get mapping, and we'll do this at /tokens, right? And instead of returning a string, we can return something called a chat response. And a chat response has a whole bunch of other data about that response. So I'll say tokens full. Again, I'm going to just say chat client dot prompt. In this case, I'm passing in a prompt. I'm going to call it. Now, instead of getting content back, I'm going to get the chat response back. So this is pretty cool. Now we are going to get some more data about this. So let's go back here and run a simple request to /tokens. And now you see we get a whole bunch more information back, one of which is metadata. Inside of the metadata, we have things like rate limits, like is there rate limiting happening? What is the model we're using? What is the ID of this request? Usage. So here's our prompt tokens. It was 14 prompt tokens. It was 100 generation tokens, so roughly 75 words. And then the total tokens was 114. So this is the information we want. Then here's the answer, the response, if you will, the string response that we got back. And again, there's just a whole bunch of data in here. So this works. This gives us the response and the tokens that we were looking for. But I want to take this one step further. I'm going to create a get mapping. Let's call this tokens custom. And what I want to return is something custom. Maybe I want a custom response. So this would be something we use in our organization. I'll call this tokens. And what I'm going to return is a new actually, let's do this. So we're going to make a call to the LLM first, right? So we're going to say chat client.prompt.call. And I need to put the prompt in there. So prompt. And what we are going to get back is the chat response. So I'm going to turn that into a variable of type chat response, and the name is chat response. But what I'm going to do now is return something new, and we're going to call this the chat response, or I'm sorry, the custom response, right? And so we don't have this yet. So what we can do is create a record of type custom response. And this custom response will hold just the data that we care about. And in this case, all I care about is the content and the usage. So I can say string content and usage. And if you're not sure what usage is, if you go into chat response, this is all the information that we get back from chat response. And you'll see things in there like the results and the metadata. Inside the metadata, we have something called usage, and that's really what I care about here. So I am going to get the usage back. Does it not find that? Let's import that. There. So now I have a custom response, right? So what does the custom response take? It takes the string content and the usage. So I can pass these in here using the chat response.getResult, because that is going to contain the result. I want to get the output, and I want to get the content. That is the content. Then I can get the chat response.get metadata, and then I can say get usage. So that'll pass the usage in there. So now this custom response will just include the things that I care about. What did we call that? Tokens custom. So let's look at that. And then we should get back just the content and the usage. So I get back the things I care about, not all that other data. Okay, let's take this a step further. I want to be able to log that information out, right? So I need to log that out. So what I could do is come in here, and I'm going to copy this because this will be boring to watch. But I can come in here and go ahead and log this out, right? So I can say tokens for this call. Here's the prompt. Here's the generation. Here's the total. And I can simply log this out. Now, this is fine for this one method, but what if we start doing this over and over again? This is going to get very verbose, is it not? So we have something in Spring to take care of that, any kind of cross-cutting concerns, right? And that is AOP. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add AOP to this project. So Spring boot starter AOP, that comes from there. We're going to refresh this. I am going to create a new class. And again, this is all going to be in the GitHub repository that you can find in the description below. I'm going to create a new Java class, and I'm going to call this tokens logging aspect, right? So this is going to be a class. Let's paste some stuff in here. Again, this is just kind of basic boilerplate logging with AOP. We're using the act component, so this gets picked up. We are defining this as an aspect. The point code is basically around just the token controller. So any method in there that I call can get logged. Now, the difference is there's actually two methods in here, well, three. Two that actually contain that information that I want to log, right? The chat response and the custom response. So I'm logging anything in there. And then I'm going to get in there and I'm basically going to say, give me the method name, go ahead and log that out, get a start time. And then based on the result, I want to say, hey, log out. If it's a custom response, this is what I'm logging out. If it's a chat response, this is what I'm logging out, because the usage is in the record or the usage is in the metadata over here. So I'm just automatically logging this stuff out without having to do that. Now, with that logging aspect in place, there's just one more thing that I have to do, and that is to enable our AOP here. So I'm going to say enable aspect J auto proxy, and we should get some logging out of this now automatically without having to go into each method and log this. So let's see if that worked. I'm going to go ahead and make a call to tokens custom. And if we look at our command line, let's see if I can make that a little smaller. I guess not. But let's try this. Zoom. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So now if we come down here, we see entering method, tokens, token usage for tokens, input tokens 14, output tokens 88. Exiting method tokens, execution time was this. So now, because of that AOP aspect, the logging aspect that we've created, any method in here that returns a custom response or a chat response, we're going to go ahead and log that out. So now we can add that logging in there so that every time we make a call to the LLM, we have an idea of what this is going to cost us and make sure that we are not getting too much in the request or too much in the response back. So I hope you found that useful. Again, I've gotten some questions around tokens, kind of what they are and how we can get a little bit of a look into these requests and the responses to find out how many tokens this is costing us. Again, I've been having so much fun working on a lot of these AI demos. I hope you are too. I hope you're learning something. And again, I'll put a link in the description below for a bunch of things, one of which is my newsletter. If you want to go ahead and sign up for that, I am working on a full course that should be out at some point. I don't want to kind of put that out there yet, but working on that to kind of go through all of the things you need to build generative AI applications in Java with Spring AI. And if there's something particular you want me to cover in that course, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Feel free to email me, danvega@gmail.com. I am always open for questions, even if I don't get back to them right away. So I hope you learned something new. If you did, friends, do me a big favor. Leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and as always, happy coding.